We do have time for a few questions from our board members. I'll ask you to raise your hand. I can call on you. Please state your name and the cooperative that you represent if there are any questions. Please stand if you don't mind.
My name is Linda West. I'm a director for Salt River Electric. We're just about 30 miles south of Louisville. We're probably not really cool. But my question actually is a personal one. I'm a state pensioner, and you both mentioned the state pension program, but I haven't heard any specific answers to what you're going to do about the state pension system. My pension actually comes from the state, part of it, and the other part comes from the teacher pension. So I get 2 checks. And I'm very concerned about that. Not so much for myself, because I'm already in the system, but I have friends who are still working for the state and are teachers. So I'm very concerned about them. I haven't heard any specifics from either one of you of how you're going to deal with that problem.
Thank you very much. We have 2 minutes apiece. We'll start with Mr. Bevan.
Yeah, it's important. Please, again, look at my website. Look at mattbevan.com. Look at my blueprint for Better Kentucky. It's been very specifically out there for quite some time. We cannot, and honestly, Linda, not only for yourself as a retiree, but for those that are in the system, you all should be worried. We were just downgraded by S&P a week and a half ago because of our pension crisis. We have so many tens and tens of billions of unfunded liability. We are so fast on the track to insolvency that if we do not address this, doesn't matter who the next governor is, if we don't address this, if we don't do what I'm about to propose, the system will collapse. It will not matter if there are inviolable contracts if the checks bounce. It doesn't matter. And this is essentially the track we are on. When these systems were set up, you had 7 workers for every retiree. Then it was 6, then 5, then 4, then 3. We're now down to 2 and change to 1. It's unsustainable. It is impossible to maintain as a defined benefit program. 2 years ago, we moved to a cash balance plan with a guaranteed rate of return. Year to date, the markets are down 3%. The guaranteed rate of return is 4%. That's a difference of 7%. Who makes that up? You all make that up. The people with no guarantee are making a guarantee for those who, frankly, we don't have the ability to deliver on that promise. For every billion in the system, and there's more than 20 billion currently in the system right now, for every billion, when you have a 7% differential, that's $70 million of unfunded liability we've dug further into the hole. So we have in excess of $20 billion, which means in the last month, as the markets have gone down, just on that new fix, where we have a 4% guaranteed rate of return, we've dug over $1.5 billion further into unfunded liability in the last month alone. Nobody's addressing this. Part of why I got in this race is because of this. I started a business here in Louisville, in the basement of my home, that today manages more than $5 billion in pension assets. I've spent my entire adult life in this industry. I understand what needs to be done. We've got to move to a defined contribution plan for all people that are not currently in the plan. Others will try to tell you I'm talking about those in the plan. I'm not. I'm not talking about you or people currently working. But for new hires, we cannot continue to promise something that we know we can't deliver.
General Conway, 2 minutes.
Well, first of all, I want to go back to the comment on cap and trade. I want to be clear, I've never supported cap and trade. And that's been verified by a lot of independent checkers in the Commonwealth. With regard to the pension system, Linda, over the last 6 years, the General Assembly has changed the rules twice. They've come in, and what you no longer have is you no longer have the double dipping. You no longer have people retiring so early. You no longer have a pure defined benefit plan. The Pew Foundation for the States came in and made some recommendations that were largely adopted. And I was listening to my opponent. Even if you were in a 401k style plan with the investment returns you've had over the last little bit, things are going to go down. These things go up and down. But what the Pew Foundation recommended was a hybrid plan, part defined benefit, part defined contribution. And in the out years, it's sustainable. But we do have this bubble of people that are retired and are going to live longer that are here, and we have to get through the next 15 or so years. Now, we didn't get into this problem overnight. We got into this problem because decision makers in Frankfurt started making assumptions about investment returns, failing to make contributions, the annual required contributions to the system. The stock market tanked in 2008, and we got behind the 8 ball. That's what happened. And it's going to take a decade and a half of sound budgeting principles to get it out. I am dedicated to making the full ARC payment. Now, next year, in the first year of the biennium, they're projecting about $66 million for the ARC payment. I think that's doable. We're projecting a $219 million surplus. But what the rating agencies don't like is we don't have a dedicated stream of revenue. And the last budget cycle, the General Assembly said, okay, Governor Beshear, go find $80 million in savings, and we're going to take $30 million out of the road fund, and voila, there's your payment. I've cut my own office's budget by 40%. When I get in there, I'm going to find a dedicated stream of revenue, dedicate it to the ARC, so that we don't get these concerns out of the rating agencies. And with the teachers' retirement systems, look, I'm about to run out of time here, but we've got a task force that's going to be making recommendations. It's not as immediate a problem, but it is a larger problem than what we even see in the KRS. But one thing about teachers is we can't go to a 401k system like my opponent suggests, because teachers don't participate in Social Security.
Any other questions from board members? We have maybe time for 2 more. Yes, sir?
Scott Ramsey, President and CEO of Warner Rural Electric in Bowling Green. Attorney General Conway stated his opposition to potential electric deregulation. Mr. Bevan, would you care to give your position on that?
Yeah, at this point, I don't think that deregulation is a good thing. I really don't. I think we need to be mindful of it. In some measure, the decisions that I'll make will be in conversation with those of you. I'm not looking to make changes on that front beyond where we currently stand.
General Conway, any response?
Quite a bit. I mean, back when I chaired the task force on electricity restructuring 15 years or so ago, we had all of these investor-owned utilities coming to us saying, "Oh, we got to deregulate. It's going to be great." And I said, "Okay, let's calm down. Let's hire a consultant. Let's have a task force and look at this." And what we learned in that task force consultant process was that rates would actually go up under deregulation. And as I said before, Kentucky has low electricity rates for 3 reasons. We have it for access to coal and coal-fired generation, which has been cheap. 2, good arterial transportation. And number 3, prudent regulation. And look at the after effects of deregulation. I mean, the deregulation was really a 3-headed monster. You're going to generation, and then you were going to the independent system operators and then distribution companies, which many of you all know about. What happened in states that deregulated? I mean, they got into a mess. You remember the mess in Texas and California? I mean, it was a disaster. And we have seen some of the after effects of deregulation. For example, in the Kentucky Power case in Eastern Kentucky. I mean, I have been fighting tooth and nail as your Attorney General because I didn't like the idea of that Mitchell plant from West Virginia coming into the Kentucky system. I believe in the integrity of the Kentucky Territory Act. I believe it has stood us in good stead for a long time. And what you had was AEP, who was headquartered in Ohio, who had a bunch of stranded assets that they, because of deregulation up there, they wanted to shut down the Big Sandy, which buys a lot of Eastern Kentucky coal, and they wanted to transfer the Mitchell plant into the Kentucky system and then have the Kentucky system start to help amortize the cost of that after West Virginia had already been doing it. They tried to do it over in Virginia, and Virginia's Public Service Commission said, no way, no how. But somehow we let it happen here in Kentucky, and that's the reason that I have appealed it. That's the reason I have appealed that case. That's also the reason where with Big Rivers and other people with Big Rivers here in the room, that decision involving Century Aluminum, I didn't think they ought to let them go to market because, listen, every other industrial user would want to go to market too. So, you know, there are things we have to stand up for here. And I understand the Public Service Commission does that. And when I'm your next governor, I am going to appoint commissioners to the Public Service Commission who understand that, because I've been very disappointed in several of the decisions as your Attorney General.
I do want to allow Mr. Bevan, you were asked a direct question, and as part of this answer, I want to be able to, if you want to elaborate a lot for 90 more seconds, we can do that. If there's something else you really want to say.
I'll let someone else ask a question. I think I gave you a clear answer to a clear question.
I want to make sure for equity's sake. For
no,
time.
Fair enough. I could go off on a different topic, but I'll wait till someone else asks.
Right. Yes, sir.
My name is Bill Praker. I'm the CEO at Farmers Rural Electric. And what I hear a lot of the manufacturers saying is that there is a tremendous amount of pressure on us on wages because we're in a world economy. However, it's hard for us to compete against the state and federal government when they're paying such lavish benefits to those who choose not to work and take those instead. And so de facto what we have is the government, both state and federal, competing with employers for workers. And I guess my question for you all is, how do we deal with that conundrum?
General Conway?
Well, I've put forward a plan to deal with it, but I hear you loud and clear on the worker shortage issue. I was in Henderson, Kentucky just a few months ago. A Republican CEO who's for me down there running a tool and die shop took me through his facility, and doing advanced manufacturing. They were making the molds for auto parts. Had 50 employees paying $100,000 a year, running his facility 24/7 in 3 shifts because he can't find 50 more workers at those wages. Don Tarter, a friend of mine down in KAEC County, taking me through his 5 facilities. He's the largest largest manufacturer of farming and ranching equipment east of the Mississippi. He's making fences and bush hogs for John Deere. He's like, Jack, I need welders, but the workers today, the machine does the welding. I need the guy or the woman who's going to operate the computer that does the welding machine. And this is a couple years worth of training. People can't find this. So we have to do a better job along the entire spectrum. We're going to have to get in there and completely re-engineer the way the Workforce Development Cabinet does business. The federal government actually changed the Workforce Investment Act and made it the Workforce Innovation Act and put some more money in it. But we're going to have to be a better steward of those dollars. We're going to have to make certain our ad districts realign themselves and change the way that they do business as well. And in my education plan, which is on our website at conwayoverley.com, we propose something called the Kentucky Plan Initiative, where we want to sit down with juniors and seniors in high school and go through issues of financial literacy and what jobs are out there, and to help both the students and the parents make informed decisions about what do they want. Do they want 2 years of training? Do they want to take out a loan for a degree in liberal arts where there may not be a job? And we also need to work with local members of the Chamber of Commerce, local employers, and enhance these programs where maybe if they do get the 2 or 3 years of training, if that worker's willing to work for 5 years, the employer will help them pay off their loans. Those types of partnerships and those types of skilled apprenticeships work really well, but we're going to have to get really focused on that in the coming years if we're going to meet this demand.
Mr. Bevan?
This is something as an employer I wrestle with every day. I literally compete against myself and my own tax dollars to employ people. I hired a guy who had just used up his unemployment benefits. I hired him at $15 an hour in this particular instance. Then his benefits were extended. He didn't come into work. He said it was easier for him to stay at home. Then he had flexibility to do what he wanted during the day. And when it ran out, he wanted to come back around and see if I'd be interested. Well, it turned out that made it easy for me to realize that it would have been a bad hire in that instance. But how crazy is that? That as an employer, I'm forced to compete against myself. This happens across the board. This 25 to 30% of Kentuckians on Medicaid is not acceptable. I have made very clear we will not continue to enroll people at 138% of the federal poverty level. We won't. Big difference between the two of us. There is no magic free pot of money from which this is going to come. It's unsustainable. There should not be a working-aged, able-bodied, childless man or woman in this state receiving benefits from this state. Period. Period. There should not be. And if we continue to make it easy for people to not participate, to not be a part of the solution, to rob them of the responsibility, the dignity, and the expectation that they're going to be a part of the solution, we will have created this problem for ourselves. We deserve better than this. And with all due respect, as a guy who does employ welders and a guy who does employ tool and die guys, not everything is robotic. We actually need human beings with these skills and abilities as well. Many of them are in your communities. Many of them are using the very resource that you are providing to them. This is something we've got to focus on. We've got to have vocational training. We've got thousands of jobs that are unfilled. And we've got many people, because they are sitting on benefits that they don't necessarily need as much as those for whom they were designed, have found themselves partaking in activities such as drug use that preclude them from even passing a drug test to get back into the workforce. This has got to be addressed. We need a business person and a job creator to lead this state, not somebody who simply reads about it and talks about it.